Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snapper. My name's MJ and this is Snap or Pass, where we look at the brand new cards coming to Marvel Snap each and every time one releases. This week we've got a brand new Series 5 card in Zombie Galacti, or Galacti. I don't know if it's like an octopus deal here. There's like multiple Galactuses, right? They're a 7/4, start of game, choose 6 other cards in your deck, on reveal, transform those cards into copies of this. So this is one of those extremely exciting cards which, like, my mind rushes with the possibilities, and also how complicated this card is. So there's a lot to break down here. I hope you'll join me for the whole video, but if you do want to skip to a specific section, you can use the chapters below. True Legends do stay until the end. If you do want to pick up Zombie Galacti, you can buy them outright for 6,000 tokens, or open seasonal Series 5 snap packs, which includes the rest of the cards from this season and also last season as well, the Series 5 stuff anyway. So before we delve into the mechanics and stuff, I actually want to look at the variants for this card, which I don't often / ever really do, but I think these ones bear looking at because I just think they're freaking sick. Yes, art is subjective. You know, there's that famous phrase that people sometimes say. So, sure, I'm not even a massive fan of Ryan Gonzalez myself. Like, I do like some of them, but it's just not my general vibe. But I've included her one in here as well. But some of these other ones, I just think they're absolutely amazing. Like, you got different heroes depicted as well. So we got Wolverine front and center in this Moon Colony one. But I think my favourite here is the Ivan Foeman. Ivan Foeman, his variants have been absolutely sick this entire season. So, yeah, colour me pumped for this. Right, let's talk about the mechanics for the game, because we have got so much to get through. We don't have time for frame bakes this episode even. Did I just say frame bake? So the mechanics of Zombie Galacti, and the decks we'll start off with that I think it's going to work in, the archetypes rather. So, ramp decks. Ramp decks often have a lower power to do powerful abilities, and they also obviously generate more energy for you to spend. Now the big thing with Zombie Galacti, or Galacti, whatever, the big thing is that they cost 7. Actually, well, there's 2 big things really. They cost 7, so whatever you're doing, you have to somehow get around that. Could be magic, it could be ramping, it could be pixie, like cost shuffling. But they've also got 4 power, so you kind of need to find a way around that as well, because just at a base level, transforming cards into cards as 4 power, might not be that good. So inherently, ramp will naturally work well. Buffs will also work well because, again, increasing that power makes it a more and more powerful prospect. We also have to fold in combo decks because there's multiple cards that you need for this combo to actually work. Horde decks might actually work here because horde decks are generating a card which can get a lot of power, but that isn't in any danger of being transformed into a 4 power card, or I should say isn't in any danger of transforming into a card with lower power than it already has. Lockjaw decks I think may work well because you're swapping cards in and out, so maybe you'll force out a Zombie Galacti. Doom decks, because Doom is generating 5 cost cards. Doom himself only has 5 power, so even at a base level you could probably play Zombie Galacti, especially with the other kinds of decks that you play in that style of deck. It could include White Tiger, and of course we'll talk about a lot of these decks shortly, so that could work. Hammers decks, could Hammers have a new secondary win condition here? Now bear with me on this, you might be thinking, but hang on, the Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, they're generated, they're not going to change. Yes, but there's other things you can do, isn't there? So that could be an interesting one. And actually, I've put Shield here as like a sort of in the shadow one, just because I felt like I was maybe coping a little bit. But the more I made this video, I was like, maybe it is just full-blown good with Shield, because Shield cards, typically like things like Maria Hill, Agent Coulson, don't have very big power. You play them out, generate cards. Those cards that you generate might have higher power thresholds, possibly. You play those out, and then it's only the cards that are generating cards that are in danger or that might get transformed by Zombie Galacti. So yeah, and also one thing I want to say, I think there was some small confusion when this card was first data mined. This isn't changing the way you play at the start of the game, as in you're manually choosing which cards will be transformed later on. the game will randomly pick 6 for you. So, yeah. Right, so it's a build-around card which presents a unique deck-building challenge. You don't necessarily want to play cards with higher than 4 power in the deck. Now, I say here necessarily because oftentimes, you know, flourishing a couple in isn't going to hurt. But the whole point is you're going to want to transform cards which probably have either a beneficial on-reveal effect or an on-reveal effect which generates something, or which does some other positive thing to you, like expend their usefulness and then transform them into a hopefully juiced up zombie Galacti. It's kind of bad without support. It has low power and high cost. Yeah, like if you can't just throw this in a random deck because it literally won't work. Like you literally won't be able to play it. It seems like it might be a secondary win condition for a buff style deck, or the primary win condition of a combo deck, which tries to draw, add, or play him. So, yeah, this is something important. This is something important I think you need to consider. In that, is it really the primary win condition? You won't always draw them. Now, they feed into that naturally because you either need to ramp them or buff them, or really ideally both. So that's not really such a bad thing, but yeah. But at the end of the day, ultimately, I don't actually like saying at the end of the day. It's it's superfluous. Superfluous to say. That is, I mean to be clear when I speak, that it is something that does not need to be said. It does not need to be added to your sentence, nor spoken word by you, because what you're about to say after you would say, at the end of the day, stands on its own. Pros. It's essentially a brand new archetype, which is always fun, and it's got a really cool, explosive, flashy ability. Playing this guy out is going to be absolutely cool. It would be nice, actually, if the transformations all had different artwork, but I'm sure it'll be this artwork. But having them be like individual spotlights of the zombie Galacti, that would be really cool. But yeah, anyway, that's not going to happen, is it? And it can theoretically swing approximately 30 plus power across your cards. Now, this is basically the ceiling here. Like, that's if you've played all of the cards that are going to be transformed, or most of them, and you've also been able to significantly buff zombie Galacti, and that could be from something like a Shuri. Shuri is going to be one of the key cards that we'll talk about momentarily in the Synergies. The cons, however, the deck building is tough. Like I said, ramp, buffs, you kind of need some sort of element of both. If you don't have them, you need one or the other, certainly. Like, this card doesn't work without one of those. So, for example, if you're playing Pixie, you don't need to worry about ramp or buff, maybe, because that's just sort of your ramp element. But you do need to think about playing it with cards that are going to benefit. So, like Leader, for example. Leader copies their highest power card, and then it doesn't matter if that gets transformed into a 4-power card because you've already got the benefit. But there's probably better examples than that. Yeah, and I did a bad job explaining this, but hey, click like anyway. It's usually a build-around card, or at least has some influence on your deck, and you might not draw it. So, yeah, it has this big restriction, or multiple restrictions, or considerations, or a big impact on how you have built your deck, and then if you don't draw it, you might kind of feel bad. That can't be said for all cards. There are cards that are just good cards that just fit in your deck, and it doesn't matter if you draw them, and if you do draw them, it's great, sort of thing. But they haven't impacted your deck, is what I'm trying to say. And it costs 7 energy, so you kind of have to be both ramping and buffing, or have some sort of strategy for both. So, very difficult things here, but very fascinating and very interesting things. So, let's talk about the counters. First and foremost, Cosmo will just stop zombie Galacti from triggering. Sandman could be a very interesting one, because it might bring... Actually, is Sandman's text like maximum 6? So actually, it might not necessarily be relevant, but there are other things in a zombie Galacti deck that you want to be ramping, or different ways to manage your energy, and Sandman could just make that difficult. And then Eliath, similarly to Cosmo, can just shut down zombie Galacti. But the Synergies. So we spoke very briefly about Pixie. I think she'll be one of the key ones, and just basically all the ramp cards. She's unique in that she's pretty much only the cost shuffling card. I mean, I guess anti-venom, but less reliable. And actually the upcoming Hydro Man as well, but again less reliable. Pixie shuffles everything, although can shuffle cards for themselves, so Zombie Galacti coming out as a 7 is going to feel awful, but yeah, anyway. Forge is also a very big one here. If you have ramped or can ramp out Zombie Galacti, like be it from a Hope or Jennifer Kale or whatever, if you can do Forge on the previous turn as your last action or whatever, well, it certainly has to be as the last action before you play Zombie Galacti, then Zombie Galacti is coming down as a 6 power card, and then that becomes like much, much better. Even a little bit of buffing really does push the level, but really, I think the main play line is going to be Shuri. Shuri into Zombie Galacti, that's an 8 power, and then that can be an absolutely huge swing. Let's say you just got a couple of those cards that are going to transform. They could be going from 2, 3 power cards to 8. So that's +5, which is +10 if you've got a couple of them out, +15 if you've got 3 out, for example. And then the 8 that you're actually playing from Zombie Galacti. So that's when it starts getting exciting and good and interesting. So I've got a lot of decks for you this time because there is lots of potential ways you can go with Zombie Galacti. A little drink break. Oh, I thought I had a bubble in my throat then. If you've not seen my food review channel, something that happens to me from time to time. I mean, it does happen in my personal life as well, and my wife finds it hilarious / gives her the ick. I get a bubble trapped in my throat, and I try to keep it there as long as possible because it sounds weird. If I've hopefully I can find some clips of me having a bubble in my throat, and then I'll put them in now.
I've got a bubble in my throat. I've got a bubble in my throat, and I don't care who knows it.
Oh no, I've got a bubble in my throat. Oh my god, oh my days, this is a ridiculous bubble. This first deck is, I've called Distilled Tea, but it's probably like Thai, isn't it? Like Galacti, just Distilled Thai. There's just like a very typical, very like it's not uninteresting, but just a baseline ramp deck. That's what this deck is doing. I wanted to give it as much consistency as possible from a ramping perspective, so I went the triple whammy of Psylocke, Jennifer Kale and Electro. And actually, shout out to Jennifer Kale. I should have just really said this earlier as well. I think Jennifer Kale was like Hulk gauntlet meme. Jennifer Kale was made for Zombie Galacti, right? You don't always want to be, or can't always be relying on a potential Hope Summers play, or certainly like a Psylocke is more difficult. I think Jennifer Kale is going to be a really nice one for Zombie Galacti. I mean, we'll see, right? The good thing with Jennifer Kale is it allows you to play a 5 cost card on turn 5. The good thing about Psylocke is you can't do that, but you free up earlier turns. I don't know, but Jennifer Kale sort of lets you free up later turns, which is what you want to do in a ramp deck. Anyway, apart from those cards, we've also got a couple of little buffs in here. So we do have the random Okoye. Hopefully Zombie Galacti can just get a small tag on that. But this really is one of the decks where either you don't mind too much if you're not buffing Zombie Galacti, because a lot of your cards are lower power here, like Jubilee, Wong, White Tiger, or you do manage to get out like the Shuri or whatever. The other play lines here is like Doom. I mean, you've got typical ramp winning lines here like Electro, White Tiger, Doom, Odin. So yeah, you could do stuff, and it's got Wong, yada yada. Could be cool. This is a budget deck. Next one is Little Buffs. So this is like kind of like a collection of the smaller buffing cards in the game. So we've got actually no Okoye this time. We've got Nakia, we've got Viv Vision, Gwenpool, we have got Forge in here as well, and we've got the Shuri again. Hopefully this combination will hit Zombie Galacti, and then if you do have the right play lines, i.e. if you've got Jennifer Kale out already, that does allow you to do a Shuri on turn 5 into a Zombie Galacti on turn 6. Or, really interesting thing you can do with this deck, if Fallen One just gets one little buff, that could be from Nakia, it could be from Viv, it could be from Forge, you can play Fallen One on turn 5, and then you can just play Zombie Galacti out just as a 7 cost card on turn 7 because you've got loads of energy. The other crucial little nice thing in here is hopefully Clear gets a couple of buffs from... I mean, yeah, this has got a slightly higher curve, as you can see, or kind of like a mid-range higher curve. The only 1 cost card is Clear, and you don't even want to be playing her on the first turn of the game. So you basically skip in turn 1 with this deck, right? But if Clear does get a couple of buffs from either it's a Nakia or a Viv or whatever, maybe you use that turn 4 sort of area to either get her down or an Adam Warlock for a bit of extra consistency, and hopefully 1 or 2 Flames of the Full Team. Flames of 14 not only are going to get banished, so won't get transformed because of that, but they're also created cards, so they won't get transformed because of that. And then maybe Clea herself will get transformed, which could be nice if you got a nice buffed up, plumped up Galacti. Next one is Infested Zombie. This is a Horde deck. Yes, just because Zombie Galacti has got a zombie in the name, that doesn't necessarily mean that he would work well with Horde, but because Horde won't get transformed, maybe it kind of does. There is one small thing actually I want to mention. I do have the Hunger in this deck, but skills are inherently, or I should say, collectible skills that you put in your deck, like the Hunger and like Astral Projection and like the upcoming like Deafening Chord and whatnot. Sorry, I just that was a bit weird. I just scratched / like anti-tickled to what is that? Don't know. 2 portions of my face at the same time, and I probably just looked like some sort of weird animal, some sort of weird woodland creature. I've always thought, like, when I take a glass, I look like a badger or a woodland creature anyway in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and the Associated Isles. I've also got a lot of moving cards in this deck, so not least because we want to move off of Hope and get loads of extra energy to be able to play out. Maybe it's like an earlier Zombie Giant Man, or obviously, I mean, the primary tool here is for Zombie Galacti, because there's not many cards in this deck that you need to generate extra energy for. It is basically only Zombie Galacti. But yeah, I mean, you maybe sticks, but honestly, probably stick White Tiger in here would be my advice. Rather than Hunger, possibly. Anyway, but you've got movement cards that you want to get off of Hope Summers, but actually, crucially, you want to play enough movement cards in here that when you know which cards are going to be transformed, it allows you to rebalance that power across the board or to where you need it. So consider that. Right, next up, we've got a Lockjaw deck. I've called this Good Dog Tea, like Good Doggy, Good Dog Tea, but again, it's Galacti probably, so it doesn't work. Anyway, this is a Lockjaw deck with the likes of similar cards like Blink. Kind of feeds into the same kind of style as Jubilee as well, doesn't it? And now, the one thing I haven't mentioned about Jubilee is Jubilee can technically pull an early Zombie Galacti, which is probably something that you don't want. So that's actually almost sort of not ideal. So yeah, with this style of deck, you want to extract what you need to from it first. So with this particular deck, it's probably something like a Doom or a Cersei or a White Tiger, and then do your Zombie Galacti. If you are blind sailing with a Jubilee and it could hit the Zombie Galacti, Zombie Galacti is not in your hand, just accept that you're rolling the dice, isn't you? Just accept it. And then the final deck I've got for you is called Hammer and Brain. So this is that Hammer style deck. So one win condition here is just your typical Thor, Beta Ray Bill, Odin line. And you'll also note we have actually got several cards in here above Zombie Galacti's 4 power. But hear me out, right? Let's say, because you'll also see I've got Wasp and Yellow Jacket in here. Right, let's say, and Hood. The Hood is a crucial one as well. The Hood with Zombie Galacti, as in this deck where we're not buffing Zombie Galacti, the Hood is like a 7 power, 7 power swing, right? So actually, the Hood is really one that you want to get transformed. But if you pull out all of those 0 cost cards with Jane Foster, okay, are you more likely to draw the Zombie Galacti because you've pulled more cards out of your deck? Jane Foster in this deck is hopefully draw 1 or 2 cards, really. I mean, if you've shuffled in the hammers, she could be as much as draw 4. But that's sort of one of the main reasons why the 0 cost cards are here. They have great synergy with Jane, so they can be pulled out, increasing the consistency of drawing Zombie Galacti. They can then themselves be transformed into 4 power cards, which is nice because you've played them out at 0 cost. But also, also potentially Pixie synergy, which could give you some interesting play lines, especially if there's if you can then afford like White Tiger and Odin, yada yada yada. So there's like multiple sort of threads here that sort of work with Zombie Galacti. Now the other way that you can actually afford to play Zombie Galacti at the end of the game is we do have Jennifer Kale in here as well if you don't Pixie. So I don't know about this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Right, just a reminder, guys, that these things help my channel. Like the video, that would be really appreciated. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Right, star ratings. I think overall it is a 3.5 star card because yes, it's a new archetype. Yes, it's potentially going to be fun. It's going to be cool. I personally am going to like look forward to playing this card. But I'm not 100% convinced that like across the board this is great. Now I will say from a fun perspective, this is like 6 stars. This is in my eyes, this is as fun as it gets. Brand new deck building opportunities. It's complicated. There's loads of different ways you can go with it, and it's really cool. For the archetype, I've given 3 stars. I don't know if that's fair because I do kind of think this is its own archetype, and I will consider this card when future cards come out. And maybe eventually I'll make it an archetype logo for it, like I do. And then from a competitive standpoint, I've given them 3 stars. I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of think like, I don't know, maybe am I under-evaluating the play lines of like a buff deck, even if it's just a buff deck with Fallen One and this? I don't know. But then also the thing is, if you're playing a buff deck with Fallen One and this, you could still be buffing up all of your other cards, and then you play Zombie Galacti and you're actually reducing their power from where they are. I don't know. So, because there is so much uncertainty there, I do kind of think that Zombie Galacti is maybe like a pass. I mean, I am... Sorry, I'm wiping out... I just feel like I've got hair all over it. Like I'm some sort of man Sasquatch. Anyway, yeah, I'm not certain about it, guys. Now, full transparency, I am definitely getting this card. I think it's incredibly fun seeming. But I'm just not sure I can necessarily recommend it yet. Maybe wait and see what happens. See what those popular content creators do on their streams and on their videos. Check them out, guys. And yeah, and hey, look, we're at the end of the video, so I haven't spoken about my scar yet. Don't think I've forgotten. I'm about to. But if you did make it this far, which is basically the end of the video, please leave let's do a thirsty emoji. You know, like that thirsty, like I use that emoji when I'm talking about like sexy stuff or stuff that I'm looking forward to. Right, so you're using it now. Like the first emoji. Anyway, thanks for that. That is Harry Perry. 100% Harry Perry contacted me and said, right, 100% this is approved by me. Do like make your viewers use inappropriate emojis. And he was like, this is he said this is him to me, right? He goes to me, this is 100% my idea. I want your viewers to use inappropriate emojis, and that is 100% approved by him. So I'm just saying, if you got any problem with what I just said, that's all him, really. So yeah, anyway, that's happened. I guess I'll talk about my scar. If we've not frame braked, we are now... Where is it? I actually can't... Last time I said I couldn't see it. It's definitely here, right? Yeah, definitely here. I think you can just about see it, to be fair. With my receding hairline, it used to be completely covered by hair. But with my receding... Oh, sorry, I just realised I was leaning right into the mic. Anyway, yeah, I've got like a big scar here. It does lead into my hair as well. What happened was, how old was I? I was about 13 or 14, I think, something like that. I was riding along on a push scooter on a car park. We were actually headed to McDonald's, so we were about to get a McDonald's. Pushing along actually, I got McDonald's. Hey, off topic immediately. I got McDonald's yesterday. If you want to see what the new items from McDonald's in the UK are like, go check out my food review channel. We've got all of these videos coming soon. So literally, if you're interested to find out what McDonald's is like in the UK, if you're not from the UK, go and check out that channel. I will leave a link in the description. Alright, so I was going along in this car park on this push scooter, and I had this weird drain, which is like a strip. I don't know if they got them in other sort of locales in the world, but like a drain that is a long, thin strip. And basically, my push scooter wheel sort of twisted sideways, and thus the handlebars twisted sideways. Got jammed in the drain, flipped over, so I fell off. Then for the squeamish people, squeamish warning. My scooter then like sort of toppled over onto the handlebars. So the handlebars are now on the floor, and the scooter is travelling at speed and just going into the air. And with the heavy metal platform and the falling, giving it the momentum, God, bloody hell, right? The thing swings around and bam, right in the head. So, where is the scar? It's definitely there, isn't it? Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it bled a lot. I think it's my most significant injury I've ever had, basically. Yeah, bled absolutely loads. And then, so obviously my mum took me to, well, no, it's not obvious, but my mum took me to the hospital. And yeah, they glued it up. Yeah, didn't even have stitches, which is good. I've never had stitches, which is good, because I think I would cry my eyes out. Anyway, I've got another scar. It was an accident. We briefly spoke about it last time, but yeah, I'll do that another video probably. Anyway, this video has been bollocks, hasn't it? Absolute bollocks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.